now.
All right, awesome. Welcome to the Q&A session of our first week of the fall Intro to Coding Live cohort. We'll wait for some more people to come in, but overall, we're really excited to have a new launch to this group. And we have our instructor DJ here. DJ, you want to do a quick intro? This is for Josh. Hey, Josh, but also for people that might watch the recording later on.
Yeah, definitely. I'm obviously the instructor for this course. I am a graduate of Whiskey Platoon. I'm also the Alumni Association president. So we're working on a lot of those things, and I definitely want you to become one of us. Um, my programming journey started a long, long time ago during the dot-com bubble. Um, my military career was kind of a break in that, and then I attended another boot camp, ended up going into industrial quality for a while, and then saw the Code Platoon thing and tried again to get back into, updated development and everything. I spent about 13 years in the Army as a board observer and a truck driver. Um, Deployed 3 times to Iraq, once to Afghanistan, and was part of the Homeland Security efforts after 9/11 kicked off. So been at it a little while, but yeah, I think we're gonna have some fun and get through the things.
Awesome. Heck yeah, awesome. And I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Danny. I'm a recruitment manager here at Code Platoon. I'll be your point of contact for anybody that is a prospect interested in the program, learning more about a journey into software engineering, and ideally kind of working their way through the application process. But yeah, I'd love to kick it off. Even though we have only one participant right now, hopefully some more get in here. I see Jim just joined. Hey, Jim, how are you doing? And yeah, Josh, nice to connect with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just have been rewatching the videos from last week, um, and just trying to prepare myself mentally for this class today.
Awesome, awesome. Out of curiosity, what is your background within software engineering, or I guess desire? Like, what are you hoping to kind of skills to gain, and where are you starting from?
So, when it comes to background for software engineering, I probably am the least experienced, or I would make that assumption. Um, I've worked in law firms, I worked in restaurants, I worked in a lot of places with a variety of people that come and go, but um, it's something that I've seen in a lot of software engineers that a lot of their work seemed a lot more fulfilling than what I've been doing. And I've
Mhm.
also met a lot of friends who have different backgrounds, who have converted into the tech world, precisely software engineering. And I, frankly, or candidly speaking, their lifestyle has been the most attractive aspect. Um, and just seeing how much they impact the community behind the scenes, um, it seems like a really good profession to pursue.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I would say that you're definitely not the least. You're probably tied, because we all start somewhere, right? Like nobody's born with the gift of software engineering. It is a construct that is human made. It's not like, some people are really gifted with a great arm and they can throw a baseball 100 miles an hour. Some people are really good at hand-eye coordination and can catch a football really well. Nobody's born just like, oh man, yeah, this if else statements just come naturally to me. This is all human made, almost similar to accounting. It's a human made practice, human made kind of orchestration. And ultimately, it's something that, you put in the time and you gain your skills and you master, which is kind of the point of Intro to Coding Live is to really evangelize individuals like yourself, Josh, that are interested in a career in software engineering, or maybe just tangentially, they know people that are software engineers. And it kind of sparks the idea of like, hey, what if I could gain those skills? You mentioned kind of an attractive lifestyle. I think one thing that is really beneficial for software engineering is the openness to remote work. I think that's something that really comes prevalent within the tech industry and especially software engineering. You could be a good software engineer and be really like anywhere in the world. And that being said, I think there's a ton of rewarding factors in the kind of work that you do and the impact that you can have on the world. I mean, I can't think of a single company that doesn't interact with technology in some way or another. And the way that e-commerce is built now, the way that the world's constructed now, that we interact with each other, I mean, technology is kind of the bedrock there. So a lot of opportunities both in your career and also just your personal life and where you live and where you potentially could work. And yeah, I think this is a great class to kind of build that foundational layer. I remember in my kind of journey within software engineering, I had no experience whatsoever, just walked into programming one, and it was really incredible, just like not knowing anything and then quickly seeing yourself grow and gain more and more skills and feel more and more confident. And that first time that you kind of run into a wall trying to solve a problem, being able to work around that, figure out the solution, it's incredibly rewarding. And I think some of those building blocks we'll be talking about to help you navigate those problems. DJ, do you want to give maybe like a little bit of an overview in terms of what are some of the concepts that we'll be covering? I guess we could talk about today in particular, because I know there'll be a little bit of setup with GitHub, but maybe just overarching, like ideally, what are you hoping to impart to some of the prospects and students within this class?
A lot of the stuff we're going over today in particular is going to be effectively your building blocks for being able to do effective anything inside Python, variables and methods. Yeah, we're gonna start at the smallest pieces and just build up. It's the way you work on it's the way you work on problem solving, whether it's software engineering or not. That's one of the things we're great at as veterans and um, currently serving and whatnot is problem solving. Everything that we've dealt with throughout our careers, and it's not just veterans. We do know that this does apply to the civilian field, but we ended up a majority of times we end up doing it in a more pressurized fact pressurized
Mhm.
environment, to put it nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I've
And
always noticed just having built out a lot of software engineering teams is that people that have served, I think, musicians, sometimes converted athletes, like one thing that I noticed that's a real commonality is that trait of just discipline, because this is something where it's like going to the gym. You want to be committed, you want to put in the time, it doesn't just come naturally. You have to work through the hours, and that's something that I think the veteran community has that trait built into them is that level of discipline, commitment, and being able to fulfill through to the goals that you want to see for yourself.
yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of things we do when we were in the active service and whatnot with that deal with muscle memory. That's something all of us remember, and that's what we're kind of working on is building up a muscle memory around the programming fundamentals.
Awesome, awesome. Hey AJ, I think that's AJ Sutton. If so, thanks for joining us. I think you're based in Spain, so appreciate you being able to make this time. This is kind of the Q&A session. So Josh, AJ, Jim, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask away. We might just be doing some chit-chatting here before the class officially begins at 6 p.m., but we have about 20 minutes just to, kind of just help you gain more information about Code Platoon, what we offer in our programs, and especially how this could work within your career goals and desires.
Definitely feel free to come off and mute. I can put the chat back up if we want the text chat up. Um, Josh, if you don't mind, I know you were mentioning that you were getting ready to enroll in the next cohort, correct?
Yes, I just finished my application. I sent my deposit. I sent the the secondary application portion for the India platoon. I think it's the evenings and weekends course, which will be coming up in a few weeks from today. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, India is going to be our evening and weekends course, which is, for those on the call that maybe aren't familiar with the courses that we offer. We offer traditional full stack software development. So, really a great course to learn to become a software engineer working on both the back end and the front end. You'll be focusing a lot on projects and web development based work. Most large companies have really wide web presences, and we're gonna kind of show you a little bit on how to build some of the websites that power those companies. We do also offer AI Cloud and DevOps, which is a little bit more geared to orchestration and infrastructure work. Think of people that have experience building out CI/CD pipelines, which is an acronym for continuous integration and continuous deployment. Basically, you're not creating the website or the web services, but you are deploying those services to a cloud-based platform that then gets disseminated to your end users or different kind of repositories and different kind of cloud service providers there. So two different courses that we offer for full stack software development. We offer that in a full-time capacity, meaning 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday, 15 weeks long for the course, about just shy of 4 months. And there you'll be doing a ton of project work, things that you can actually put on your resume, point to during job interviews, and be able to showcase your skill set. And then for AI, cloud, and DevOps, as well as full stack, we offer a part-time 20-hour a week capacity. So really kind of two ways to learn for our different classes. And there is a chance, who knows, we're kind of playing with the idea of maybe making AI, cloud, and DevOps a full-time curriculum in the future. So if anybody wants to do full-time full stack, there's an option potentially in the future where you could do full-time AI, cloud, and DevOps as well. See some more people joining. Hey, Derek, saw you on camera. How you doing?
Good, good. How
And
are you?
Ricardo, doing good, doing good. Um,
Hello,
I
hello.
am Danny. I am our recruitment manager here at Code Platoon. I'm joined with our instructor DJ, and we are here just answering any questions before the class kicks off about Code Platoon. So, if anybody has any questions, anything that they want to learn some more information on, please don't hesitate to ask away, either going off mic or in the chat works as well.
I'm as green as they come, so I'm just trying to jump in and get the feel for it. So I can't really ask any logical questions right now.
You're in the
Yeah,
right
No
place.
worries.
yeah, me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is really like kicking off day one. I would say like, I mean, ask as many questions when you're going through this, Derek, as you can, just to really kind of lock into those like key features. Because right now we're going to be talking about, I mean, not literally right now, but today and throughout this course, the foundational bedrock for software engineering. And a lot of this stuff is really, really important information to help you build upon. So almost like if you want to make Burj Khalifa, the largest building in the world, you definitely want to spend a lot of time laying that concrete foundation because when we're building this thing way up, having that kind of like Jenga loose peg at the bottom could send the whole thing toppling down. So feel free to ask questions when you're going through, but I'm glad to have you here. And out of curiosity, where are you based out of, Derek?
I'm over here in at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, Fayetteville.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Love
Yeah.
North Carolina.
So
I
the
was
way I'm
just,
kind of coming about this right now is I've got about 10 months before I can start SkillBridge and get approved for it and get your
oh,
guys's
awesome.
get your guys's more in-depth course. But I'm using this to my benefit to try to get as much like hands-on experience as I can before I get to that point. So I'll probably take this live course multiple times over so that way I've got
Yeah.
absolute understanding of it because I'm really trying to maximize like my hands-on experience because if I look at it correctly, I've got about 14 months till I'm out. I would fair to wage that that is probably more experience than the average person going to intern and start out. So I'd
Yeah.
like to get as much hands on and be as prepared as possible for when I get out. So I'm really actually marketable.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad you're here. I think that this is a great place for you, especially utilizing SkillBridge, which is an awesome program. We work with a lot of SkillBridge participants. It really helps people transitioning to civilian life have that extra leg up in terms of translatable skills that help them get into, fantastic careers. And I know a lot of I think a few of our instructors actually came through the SkillBridge route. one thing just from the recruitment side, make sure you communicate with your commander to get that approval. I know branch by branch, it can definitely take a little bit of time, but it sounds like you have more than enough time and a great use of time to spend honing your skills before the class actually starts, which is great.
100%.
Um, awesome, awesome. Hey, Ricardo, how are you doing? Don't know if you're able to speak on mic, but awesome to have you here. And yeah, just
Yeah, yeah,
wanna,
I
yeah,
can. I can. How's it going? How's it going? I'm
it's
doing
going great, man. It's a beautiful day. I'm based in just west of Minneapolis in Plymouth, Minnesota.
okay. Okay. I'm in the Virginia Beach area.
Oh, nice, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm jealous. Yeah, I mean, you guys have some great climates like North Carolina, Virginia Beach, Minnesota. We're about to enter into the winter here in a couple months, and yeah, I'm from Chicago, but I've heard the snow can come down pretty hard here in the Great North. So hopefully, weather stays nice where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pleasant right now. It's been raining a lot, but I think that's the East Coast thing right now. It's been raining
Yeah.
everywhere in the East Coast.
Awesome, awesome. Well, how did you hear about Code Platoon and what kind of got you interested in our program?
It's just so like I'm into crypto and I've been in it for like 5 years. And
Hmm.
I've been interested in how in learning how to be a developer in the crypto space in the Web3 space because that's the future. And
Yeah,
so I started, and I'm former military myself, so I got the I started Googling how to like coding classes for veterans, and I found you guys. You guys were like the number one.
awesome.
You guys actually the one of the better recommended schools for veterans. So
Awesome, awesome. Glad to have you here, and glad to hear that you discovered us and found that information. I definitely think that we are the premier program um, for learning to become a software engineer, especially for the military community. And yeah, I think that there's a ton of opportunity in the Web3 space. I actually helped build, if you've ever heard of Solana, they were a client of mine a couple years ago.
really,
Yeah, yeah, I helped build their foundational team. Really, really fantastic low
man, that's
latency
awesome.
programming engineers. Yeah, those are there's a ton, and that's kind of a proof case where like good engineers never stop learning. A lot of those engineers picked up Rust, which is a really powerful low latency programming language that a lot of the marketplaces in the Web3 community leverage. And nobody that I know that codes in Rust started with Rust. You start with some of those traditional JVM languages, and then you start digging deeper and deeper, and you get kind of evangelized, and you find your favorite flavor. It's kind of like becoming a an ice cream aficionado. Rarely do people start with like the creme brulees. They kind of start with French vanilla or chocolate, and then you kind of get deeper in the recipes, and you're like, holy cow, this stuff's really interesting.
So,
But
so do you
yeah,
recommend in saying that? Do you recommend Python? Like I'm learning Python right now.
yeah. I mean,
It's a phone app. It's called Solo Learn. What's it called? Let me see.
solo learn.
Yes,
Okay.
Solo Learn. Yeah, I'm using that to learn Python. What do you think about that app?
I've never heard of that app before. I
I
know
have.
Mimo. Oh, who is that?
Hey, Derek,
Yeah,
I've heard of it. My buddy, he's a full stack engineer for like he's been for close to I think 7 or 8 years at this point, and like I've kind of been picking his brain about trying to get how to learn Python and C++ plus plus and Java, and Solo
yeah.
Learn kind of offers you. It's obviously free, like Ricardo said, but it's kind of from the very bottom. It'll give you kind of a script to a language and ask you to type that out and kind of mimic what the lesson plan is that it wants for that program, I guess you could say. And
Mhm.
it has you go through like each lesson. And I don't know, for me, it was a little bit difficult because like just starting out, like it's hard to remember exactly each keystroke and what it will basically interpret to the computer. But I have heard of that. It's pretty decent if you don't really got any other resources.
You gotta be consistent. That's
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
consistent. I'm not consistent enough, and that's why like you said, you have like you forget like the what it is, like the commands. I think it's called,
Yeah, it was a little overwhelming for me at
yeah,
first.
you forget the commands, and then so in order for you not to forget it, you have to be consistent. It's like a daily thing, you know.
Yeah, it was a little overwhelming for me at first.
And if you don't
Yeah,
have the
I haven't
time,
heard of that. I haven't heard of that platform before, but I definitely think like your question kind of Ricardo of like where to start. For me personally, like it can definitely differ person to person. I think sometimes the readability of a Python is really great in comparison to like a C++ plus plus or a Java where there just is a little bit more syntax. That being said, syntax is really just like the stylization of how code is written in different dialects or languages, kind of similar to the human language, you know. Some of them have a really common root to them, the same way that if somebody was to be a native Spanish speaker and they opened up a Portuguese newspaper, both are Latin derivatives, and you would probably be able to understand some of those base words. Maybe you wouldn't be fluent and you would need more time, but it will give you a leg up. And I think a Python and a JavaScript are two great languages to start your learning with. And depending on, you know, what you want to get into, you can definitely learn some different languages and you'll have a leg up. But really just understanding those baseline principles like, you know, declaring integers, if else statements, for loops, nested loops, all languages really kind of interact with that, especially languages that are compiling on the JVM or the Java virtual machine have a lot of those similarities. Now, when you start getting into like a different, you know, paradigm, like functional programming, which is kind of a different mindset, you kind of have to relearn some of those things. It's kind of like, you know, picking up baseball all your life and then picking up a golf club. You're like, don't swing that the same way you swing a baseball club. Like it's, that ball's going to go all over the place. But having that muscle memory, kind of like what you were mentioning, DJ, getting that athletic stance down will help you. I'm using a lot of analogies. Tell my wife about it. I use that like throughout my entire life. But yeah, hopefully that made a little bit of sense. And I think either Python or JavaScript would be great languages. But I'll defer to you too, DJ. Just have, you know, you kind of being in this space.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Python and JavaScript there's the most popular learning languages to be able to get into this space. Like trying to dive into something like C, you have to start to deal with memory management, and you start dealing with a lot of more complicated concepts that we just don't really have to do here with Python and JavaScript. You can kind of focus on your fundamentals, and you can continue to build on that. These are great languages to build into something else if you want to, or become highly specialized in. It's pretty much where you feel like you want to go with your career.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about this space is that there is so much new and novel development. And what you learn today as a tech stack and what you might work on in the next 5 years could be dramatically different than what you work on in the next 10 years. And keeping that ability to learn and develop alongside with the industry will always make you more sought after. Some of the best software engineers and the most highly sought after engineers that I know of are polyglots by their own kind of description. They don't specialize in any one particular language, but they're really good at learning a lot of different languages. And a lot of code bases are kind of broken down monoliths, which is just like think of a mountain of just one static thing into different microservices, like little villages around the mountain, and they all kind of have their own peculiar thing. But some languages are really good at some things, and some languages are better at other things. If you're building a website, building it in Python won't be as easy as building it in JavaScript. If you're dealing with data work, Python is going to be much better than it would if you were going to be focusing with like Java or JavaScript.
So I would assume that we're starting out with like Python just to get the like basics of.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
TJ, yeah, sorry.
this entire course is going to be Python.
Okay.
So we're going to focus on what's going to help you basically build your foundation with Python into the point where you can continue to practice, continue to learn, and yeah, hopefully join one of our cohorts and continue to expand your knowledge. The full stack curriculum takes the little bit of Python that we're learning and they just blow it into something really, really amazing. And like I was recommending earlier, if you really want to look, go into Code Platoon's YouTube channel and look at some of these graduation projects. They are
Oh yeah.
phenomenal. They are
Yeah.
just great. And this is with the skills that we're starting to build the basics to today, and just iterating and learning more. Just that's regardless if you choose to stick with Code Platoon or what you do, the process is pretty much the same. The nice thing about this, what I really enjoyed about going through Code Platoon was we were going at it together. So it's like going on the ruck march with your platoon. You know,
Sure.
you're all diving into the suck. You're all going to go do the suck together. So let's just do it.
So my
Yeah.
question is like understanding that we're starting out with like the Python and that's going to be the basis of the course for your guys's like uh I guess skill bridge program. I don't know how many weeks or months it is, but is that like more in depth past like Python or does it continue with Python and just building off the basics?
So for the cohort, you'll be learning depending on what class you're in. If you're doing AI, cloud, and DevOps, you're going to be focusing heavily within Python and also AWS, Amazon's web services,
Okay.
and really kind of understanding some of that orchestration.
It,
If you're learning full stack development, kind of like what you were mentioning, Derek, within
yeah.
SkillBridge, full stack development is really kind of like the only course that is applicable because it's a full-time course, and with SkillBridge, you only have a certain time duration. You'll be learning JavaScript, React, which is a front-end programming framework, and then you'll also be doing some API work with Python. So it'll be kind of a combination of both for full stack development, which is JavaScript and Python. That being said, getting a baseline understanding of Python will only help you in your journey of mastering and learning more in JavaScript.
Perfect. That's what I
One
was
thing,
curious about.
yeah. One thing I did want to point out that you mentioned about those end of class projects, DJ. Code Platoon is very much project focused and project based. Um, all these projects are open source, so anybody could look at these repos. You can kind of disseminate it out. And one thing that I've had a few people ask me in regards to Code Platoon is do we give any like certifications for JavaScript or Python? Certifications for programming languages really don't exist within the software engineering world. Employers don't really care as much like what your certs are. They want you to showcase what your skills are. And having those projects that you can put on your resume and point towards during your interview is so beneficial because you can actually showcase your work and walk them through the project, what you worked on,
That
what your
was the biggest
contribution
selling
was.
point for me. It was
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I think it's a huge selling point, and it really does prepare our students for the real world and being able to work on production level teams. Awesome. We have a few minutes here left until we kick off the class. I see we had a lot of students kind of jump in. Awesome to see everybody. Just a quick intro. I'm Danny. I am our recruitment manager here at Code Platoon. I'm probably interacted with the majority of you. I'm Danny at codeplatoon.org. I'm accompanied here with DJ, who is our instructor for this Intro to Coding Live course. And we do have a few minutes here of some quick Q&As. So just want to open up the floor if anybody has any questions, anything that the recruitment and marketing team can answer for you at the moment.
I see Dom had a question inside chat regarding if it's all veterans that teach with Code Platoon. I know we have a few, but I don't think it's all. I don't know if you want to address
It,
that.
it's not all, it is the majority. I would say actually the majority of our instructors are graduates of Code Platoon that just want to give back. A lot of them are working within the field and they just want to kind of, you know, give back to a program that allowed them to launch their careers. So not all, it's not exclusively veterans that teach here, but the majority.
Uh,
DJ, I'll
Yes,
let you answer.
I'm a
Yeah.
veteran, a grad, and the Alumni Association president. So yeah, I'm definitely pro Code Platoon here, if you can't tell. I'm very biased. Uh, I did 13 years in the Army. Um, yeah, we've got a lot of diverse veteran backgrounds here. It's great even me That was just another great thing to chat about when we were going through the full stack curriculums is some of that stuff. So,
What division do you serve in?
uh, I did it backwards. I started in the National Guard about
Okay.
6 months before 9/11 kicked off, so I got roped into that. Um, then I switched from after 6 year or 4 years of doing Homeland Security missions, I went active duty to get the benefits everybody else was getting. So I went into 1AD, and then uh, by the time I got out, I was in first CAV. So
No, right on. Right on.
bouncing around.
Awesome. And then, Josh, you asked if there are career opportunities at Code Platoon upon graduation. Potentially, periodically there could be opportunities for graduates to come back and instruct. We definitely, though, want to help our graduates getting into career opportunities to work as a software engineer and really get into a production level software engineering environment because ultimately, when you graduate from this course, one of the best ways to continue to grow is being in a production level environment with other engineers that you can learn from and really build upon our skills. And then also, are there courses that teach or guide us network and job hunt after the course? Yes, we do have a career services department that will assist you both in interview prep, getting your resume together, working within our network of affiliate partners that hire from us, and really help support you, as well as, once you graduate, you get to join the alumni community of thousands of other veterans that, much like, GJ's the president of, assist each other, and people are always posting, different job opportunities within their organizations. And it's a great way to get a referral into a company, which, in today's world, networking is one of the best ways for you to kind of, shine amongst the rest. But awesome. I think we're kind of, right at that 6 p.m. Time here. 6 p.m. Central Standard is when these classes will kick off. So, yeah, I'll leave it to you, DJ, to get everybody started. I think we're going to go over installing GitHub or setting up GitHub.
Yep, we're going to go over setting up GitHub. We're going to go over setting up our code spaces, get everybody on the same page, uh, and then roll right into the curriculum. So, let's see here. And of course. That. There we go. I apologize for that. I have to use an alternate method of screen sharing here. Zoom doesn't play very well with Wayland. Um, so the first thing I want to make sure everybody's got going on is that we're on GitHub.
Let me get on there real quick. GitHub.
What is it? GitHub.com?
Yep, github.com. It's pretty easy. I can underline that for you here. Danny, can you paste that into I don't have access to chat anymore.
Yeah, sure thing. Sure thing.
How do I?
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Tom.
I'm there.
Thank you very much. So, this is just like signing up for anything else. Anybody else has signed up before. You click one of the sign up buttons, enter in your email, fill out the information. It will have you pick a username. It'll ensure that it's unique. I'm not in Mexico. Make sure you pick the right country. Once you create the account, I believe there may be a email confirmation, just like if you were signing up for Facebook, Instagram, or pretty much most of the services out there, just to make sure you're really you. We'll go ahead and knock through that and let me know if anybody's got let me know when everybody's got a GitHub set up. Danny, can you paste the repo link into the chat?
Sure thing.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, my Slack was underneath my Zoom, so I apologize for that. We're getting thumbs up here.
Do you have access to the chat to paste, DJ?
I just shifted my windows around. There we go.
Okay, all right, cool. I was gonna say I didn't see that. That's a unique URL.
Okay, so let's clear this out. And now when you're inside GitHub,
I'm trying to get there right now. My computer's running a little slow.
no worries. The next place we want is I've pasted the GitHub, the curriculum link into the Zoom chat. It is also, once we're here, I can show you where, if you're having difficulty with these links, I can show you where in the Slack channel to be able to pull these from as well. Actually, let me do that right now. So what we'll look for is there's this bookmarks link, the curriculum. Come on. The curriculum is the first one. We're going to be going over this information, the intro to coding code spaces setup today. Danny, are they supposed to fill out the attendance form or do you guys handle that? I don't remember.
No, I have everybody down.
Okay, sounds good. This is the link to this Zoom session. And for reference on where you can pick up the videos, the graduation projects, Code Platoon's playlist can be accessed from this same channel here. This will take you to the Intro to Coding playlist, and then you can also navigate to the other Code Platoon playlists to be able to explore more about the school and the program and everything. Has everybody got that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm finally in. I'm just at the dashboard to get
Okay, good.
I'm in, but what are we supposed to do now?
What you're looking for is this page right here. I want you to see. You have that intro. There's a GitHub link that I posted in there. It says Intro to Coding Live. Do you see that?
Yeah, I'm already in it. I already see
Okay.
into the coding that says dev container, exercises,
Yep,
graphics.
that's where
Yeah.
I want you to be right now. Once everybody's there, we can move on with setting up the code spaces. Do we have any
exercises, graphics.
Yep, those are what GitHub is think about it like if you've ever used OneDrive, your iCloud, your Google Drive, these things are usually connected to your phone. And it saves you save your pictures there or whatnot. This is kind of like that, but these are folders in this particular repository. Repository is just another folder, but it's referenced through this URL that we're clicking to be able to get to here. And all of these pieces, basically, it's what we use to make up this particular curriculum. Now, for the most part, as we're going through the course, we're only going to be focused on the exercises and the lessons folders. That's the only things that really mean anything to us. So everything else is just support stuff. It's the stuff behind the scenes that makes all this stuff work. And you'll see a little bit about that once we get the code spaces set up. What code spaces is think about it like a virtual computer. So instead of having you guys install a whole bunch of stuff on your computer and dealing with who's got a Mac, who's got Windows, who's got an old version of Windows, and all the other things that just make that a chore, we're using code spaces, which is delivered through the web page. And well, we've all got web browsers. It'll function the same way for everybody as long as we follow through with these setup steps. That way we can focus more on the curriculum than the individual nuances of our systems.
Is it safe to say I won't need pen and paper?
If that depends on your learning style. For me, I like writing stuff down. That helps me commit stuff to memory. So if if it works better for you, have a little notebook on the side but the majority of everything that we're covering is going to be inside these lessons. If there's other like little analogies or things that might help make the things kind of stick better, then by all means use a notebook so you can kind of help yourself pick up the things. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So is there anybody not at this Intro to Coding Live page here? If you're not there, go ahead and mention in the Zoom chat, and then we can work on solving what's going on. Okay, I take that as everybody's good to go. So what I want you to do is there's this hamburger menu right at the top. I want you to click that. And when you click this hamburger menu, it's going to disappear. It's going to show you the Octocat. And I want you to click this code spaces link right here.
I don't think you're screen sharing anymore. At least I can't see it.
Is it not? Can anybody else see my screen?
I can see it.
Huh.
What are you seeing right now?
Just you.
I see the bottom. It's like below. It's like in the center of the Zoom window. I see it. It's you probably got to enlarge it or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's maximized, so that's what I'm
No,
wondering.
I'm talking.
You know, I've got my screen maximized too, and I still can't. I only see DJ. That's it.
But you only see me talking. Interesting. So,
Yeah. I didn't click anything out. I saw your screen at the very beginning when we were going to GitHub, but
Now go up to the top where it says views. That might be the problem. Just I'm on side by side view.
yeah, that's how I had it. Huh.
yeah, I'm not sure what would cause that issue.
Yeah, because I definitely can't see your screen.
Um,
Melissa says she's the only one seeing.
yeah, I believe that feels. Courtney says try a standard view. So maybe there's a view setting that you might not have toggled.
I'm looking at view. And it doesn't really give me much. It says show participants, close chat.
I don't think that's the right view. It's the one all the way at the top where it shows the recording. There's another view up there by the recording thing.
Oh, yeah.
Click that, then go to like side by side or multi speaker. That should fix it.
Is that the little
Yeah,
set of
I just
icons?
clicked it, but it's still just showing DJ. I can see like James when he talks, but I'm going.
Interesting. Yeah, because I can't see any of that, but maybe it's
I
yes,
just
code space is underlined. That's what we're looking for.
I just went through all the view settings and it ain't doing it for me. Don't know what to do.
I'm gonna pause the recording really quick. All right, so as long as everybody's here, we've got the hamburger menu. You hit the hamburger menu and you'll see code spaces right here. I want everybody to click into code spaces. I'm going to hold it here for a few minutes and let me know if anybody's not able to find that. A thumbs down in chat will work. All right, moving on. Once we're inside code spaces. Oh, I apologize. Let's go back. What I'm showing you is how to start it from one major thing is you'll see nothing here, correct? I just want to confirm that with it. Leave that code spaces tab open. But what we're going to do is for first time start, we're going to click this use this template button. You click the use this template button and open in a code space. All right.
We're on Jupyter Notebook.
You should be at the intro to coding live page. Leave the code spaces tab open. We're going to need that to show you how to shut off the instance later. These instances run, I believe it's 120 hours a month. So one of the first things we're going to make sure we understand is how to shut the instance off so it doesn't just idle in the background and waste all your time.
Okay.
We're using code spaces. Like I said, it's a virtual computer that basically it's going to be running a code editor. I'm not exactly sure what code spaces is set up on, Dom. We can probably look into that later if that's all right. But what this is going to do is it's going to launch a copy of Visual Studio Code, which is a code editor. And it's a pretty universal code editor. It's extension based, so you add the functionality by adding the extensions. This particular environment has already been set up to have Python running. If we were to do this on our own computer, we would have to do all of these pieces manually. And this is just helps us get through this process faster so that we can get to the meat and potatoes of, lesson one. Is anybody not able to find the code space?
Are we just clicking it once we got it?
Yep, click it. It'll start doing some processing. That's why I didn't want to click it right now.
Okay.
It should open another tab and start doing some processing. I just want to be able to make sure everybody's able to get to this point, and then we'll step into the rest.
So click open in code space, right?
Correct. Please do not create new repository. That's going to add. It's basically going to add the nightmare that we're trying to avoid.
Okay, there you
If
go.
we, DJ, if we did this with you, I think maybe a week or so ago, do we need to do it again?
No, you do not. You are good to go.
Okay.
For mine, it just says setting up your code space. So
Yes. So after I click it, you see this. We're loading in. This is what Visual Studio Code looks like. And this UI looks the same whether it's hosted inside the web page like we're doing now, or if you installed it on your computer. The processing that it's doing right now is there's a lot of automations that were set up that were added to this to be able to set it up to be able to work specifically with what we're working with today or with this course. And I know someone had mentioned seeing Jupyter Notebooks. Jupyter Notebooks is a tool that will allow us to have both documentation and code on the same page and be able to kind of play with this stuff while you're learning it. So I highly encourage running the code and all of that while we're going through the curriculum and everything.
mine doesn't look like that. I just clicked into the same way that you did, and it brought me back to basically that hamburger menu where it just says dev container exercises and lessons.
It brought you back to here, the
Yeah.
actual repo.
Yeah.
Can you try clicking in we want this green box up here. Don't click this one.
Yeah, it says use this
Okay.
template and then open in code space.
Correct. Is there another tab open, or did it open another window for some reason?
Yeah,
Double check, make sure.
it opened another tab, and then it's just at the top. It's like highlighted, like it's all select all. Oh, there we go. Now it's in.
Good to go?
Yeah, I believe
All right.
so. It still doesn't look like yours. It says
Mine's
Yeah, I'm
set to
having-
dark mode, so don't worry about the coloring. Go ahead. Someone else?
If nothing happens, is I'm assuming it's something with like pop-up blockers or something. I click open in code space and nothing happens.
That might be a pop-up blocker. You might have to temporarily turn it off to be able to kick through that. It depends. There's so many different types of pop-up blockers out there. Um, and it's already in my trusted workspaces, so I'm not exactly sure. Do you know how to get by your pop-up blocker? Is there a link here?
I should be able to figure it out fairly quickly. I'll work on it.
Mine had brought me back to the, it says your code spaces. It's the original where we were at where it says blank.
This page right here.
Yeah.
For the pop-up blocker in the browser, where if you were to favorite where the star's at, to the left of it, there should be an icon that's the indicator that a pop-up is blocked. No, more to your left. Go to the star in the browser. I'm sorry, in the URL. Just a few icons over to your left.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And to the left of that, usually when a pop-up is blocked, it'll be where the icon to the left of that star's at. If you click on it, it'll say pop-up is being blocked. Do you want to allow it? I already had to do it for something earlier.
Mine's subdued, so is yours opening on the Mac?
I mean, it's to where it says blank React Jupyter Notebook, so it's not opening like your screen is. But I'm looking at my pop-up blockers right now. And
Are you in the code spaces tab?
yeah, because I originally had clicked the
hamburger menu like I was giving you the instructions before.
Yeah, correct. And it brought me to your code spaces.
Right. What we want is to go back to the Intro to Coding Live page, which should be another tab. Click use this template. We'll leave the code spaces up because we need that for the other piece.
Oh yeah, that's what I clicked, and it brought me to that code spaces tab where it's blank React, Jupyter Notebook, and .NET.
But it doesn't show anything below it.
No, so it says create new repository, which I know we don't want, and you wanted us to click open in code space. When I click that, it'll open a new tab, and then it'll bring me straight away to code spaces.
Interesting. How about closing the code spaces tab and try clicking to use the template again?
I just currently did that while we were communicating, and I'm back to the same thing: blank React, Jupyter Notebook, and .NET. What's below it is Solid Xylophone and Humble Winter.
Okay, so it actually created them for you. So what you're looking at, this is what the codes. If I refresh this, you'll see two code spaces now.
Yeah.
One of them should show active.
Let me double check. They're both active, actually.
Okay, click one of them. Click the ellipsis next to one of them.
Okay.
And there should, let me click that. And you should see stop code space.
Would you go Solid Xylophone or Humble Winter? Does it even matter?
It has to be an active one. I want you to,
How do I make it active? I'm sorry. I'm just realizing I probably missed a step.
If you have this tab open, if you have the preview open, you are active. If you do not have the tab open, but you have a code space showing up in this page, the code spaces page, I believe there might be one, maybe two people that are having this issue.
Oh yeah, it says active for me. Yep. It says active.
Click this ellipsis, and this is only if you don't have the tab already open.
Then it should bring you to that intro to coding and introduction.
Well, you have two of them active. I want you to stop one of them because that's going to chew up your hours really fast.
Okay, so how do I shut one down?
So you'll see this ellipsis right here next to the active button. Click that, and you have this option, stop code space.
Okay, let me go back to
and that's if you have two?
If you have two of them open, make sure you stop one of them. You want to stop one of them like right now.
How do I know I have two? How do I know I have two? It will show me two.
It'll show two actives.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close Humble Winter, and it says
these names, they're made up. So don't put any stock in it. When each time you make one, it just gives you a random generated name. Some of them are pretty
So just
funny.
hit stops. I don't mean to cut you off, just so I stop it with enough time. I hit stop code space, I'm assuming.
Correct, yes. We
Okay.
just want one active, and you should be able to click that ellipsis, or you should be able to actually click the.
So the only one that's active now is solid xylophone. And then if I click that, it'll pull me back to.
Yes, you should be able to use that to launch right in. Being that the code space is created now, you should
That's
be
what
able to
mine
use
looks
that,
like.
yeah, to jump into the. Yeah, there we go. Open in browser.
I have a question. Is the 2 core 8 gig RAM 32 gigabyte? Is that my computer specification, or is that something else?
That's the instance. That's the code space.
Okay, never mind. All
Yeah.
right.
So it just brought me back to the intro to coding live, the page that you were just at previously, where it says exercises, lessons, and everything like that. When I clicked the xylophone one.
Did you? Okay. What I want you to do is hit the ellipsis again
Okay.
and open in browser.
Okay.
That's what actually I click that. I click the other link. The other link just brings you back to the repo, the repository itself.
Yeah, I think that's what was happening.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go open this. All right. How do I have two? I got two active again. Three. So stop code space.
What you can do with those that you're stopping, you can also click delete so it doesn't turn on you again.
All right, let me do that.
That's completely fine. That'll just make it so you can keep it clean and you just have the one.
Yeah, because that's turning into a pain in the butt real quick.
Yeah, I can agree.
All right, deleting that one. Laughing umbrella, whatever that is. Now you said open in browser.
Open in browser, yes. And that should start the instance if it's not already running too. So on Wednesday, when we kick back into this, or if you want to go in and do some practice and stuff, that's how you will fire it off, is you'll go up to the hamburger menu and we'll go through those steps too if we need to.
All right, no, that isn't opening in another browser. This is interesting. Open in browser. It loads all the way up and then it would just sit at setting up your code space.
Okay, that's good because it's got to do some processing and it only does it the first time. It does extended processing and whatnot.
Okay.
So what the main thing is we want this UI. You've got the little Explorer bar on the left. You've got a preview README sitting in your main view tab and a terminal tab going on. There was an AI tab that I closed. We're not going to need that. So I should have pointed out the X button on that one.
Okay, so I'm back at that page right now where it says introduction and everything, while the other one says it's setting up, but I don't know what's because there's nothing loading or anything.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff it'll show some terminal actions, but effectively, as long as you're at the setting up, it's basically think about it like it's booting the application on the remote computer.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to take its time, and like I don't remember who pointed out, it may not be as powerful as the machine that you're using or whatever, but we're also dealing with a network connection and lots of other fun things that could make it take a little bit of time. That's why we're kind of hanging out, sitting here at this page, and
understood. All right.
AJ, are you able to get into the code space? I see your comment inside the chat now. Were you able to resolve that with any of the steps that we've done, or do we need to go through some stuff? Okay, no problem. Is there anybody else that doesn't at least have
Mine's
something
up.
that at least says that it's setting up or whatnot?
I'm at the terminal now, so yeah, I just had to process and load how you were saying.
Yeah. All right, thumbs down if anybody's still not here at this point. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up this little caret next to lessons. There's this pre-course. We covered that on the kickoff day. If you haven't gone over that information, go ahead and check that out later. It's an overview of what this course is about and a lot of concept stuff. Introductions about who we are as staff, and just explains a lot of the tools. What we're using, the Jupyter Notebooks part might be a new concept to a lot of people. What that is, if we go into lesson 1 and Python native data types and methods, what I want you to do is scroll down to the first code block you see. You should see, at this point right now, you should see something in the upper right that says select kernel. Now,
Lessons.
let me underline that real quick.
Python data types, methods.
Yes, Python data types and methods. Now that's IPNYB, that's a Jupyter Notebooks enabled file. Don't worry about the extensions. It just kind of tells you we've got code blocks you can run and that sort of thing in here. But as you can see, we have regular readable text, and then we have these code blocks here.
So we're clicking 1.
Yep, I want you in 1, and I want you to scroll down. You should see in the Python syntax basics section, you should see a code block. The code blocks are these, depending on how your UI set up, whether you're in dark mode, light mode, or whatnot, it'll be a box, and you'll see Python underneath it over on the right, and it looks like code.
Yeah, it's loading right now.
Okay, so if it already said, DJ, if it says Python 3.13 already in that space, and that's okay.
I want to verify we're using the right Python too.
Okay.
So it's very, very important that we're using the one that says Python local bin Python.
Okay, yep, that's fine.
3.13.7 it should be.
Okay. I don't have the select kernel op, but it is giving me the examples of like the and if true, print this and
Okay, so I already clicked this. Mine looks like a stop button, but right where the stop button is, you should have a play button. Click that, and it'll pop. It should give you this pop-up up here.
Hmm.
Okay.
What are we supposed to see? Python environments in existing Jupyter server?
Yes, I want you to select Python environments.
Okay. That's cool. All right.
Everybody able to find that?
I mean, I'm in the lessons. I just click Python. It's Python native data types and methods. And then if I scroll down,
down to, what was the section? The section is Python syntax basics is where you should find this if true.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, and then do you see a play button where mine has a stop button?
No. All I see is in, and then
it should be something right here, like
yeah.
to the left upper corner of the code block. Each code block has a play button for you to be able to execute the code to run it.
Let me see what you're looking at.
I also don't see the play button.
Yeah, no. So your computer looks a little bit different than mine. I see where your play button's at, but mine isn't popping up like that at all.
You might have.
I mean, I could screen share with you and show you what it's looking like.
Well, what about this other pop-up over here? there's another pop-up that I have on this side
Execute.
that has, you want execute. The play button is execute. Executing code is running code.
So the only thing I have is says raw, copy file, download raw file, and it says code blame to the left of that. There's nothing that says play.
Okay, so you're in the repository. So
Okay.
this is the repository.
Hold on.
That's why your screen looks different.
Yeah. Okay.
We need the one with the terminal on the bottom.
All right. Well, I had that open and then it just kind of closed out on me. So I think I may need to
That's
go
interesting.
reopen it. It's giving me a real problem.
What browser are you using?
Right now I'm off Safari.
Has anybody else used Safari if it causes? It's highly recommended that you use Chrome or a Chromium-based browser, but I'm not aware of any Safari specific issues here.
Yeah, I think that may be the problem because I'm using a Mac and I'm using Chrome and it's perfect right now. Yeah.
But somebody else is Marcellus. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Says that their Safari is working. Is there a recent update for Safari?
No, not that I'm aware of.
There might be. Are we solving the incorrect terminals? Because it says
Yeah, what I want you to do is once you click that Python 3.13.7, the one with user local bin, it should run this code and it should give you a response at the bottom. That's how you know it worked.
oh.
I think I may just try to do this on Chrome because it keeps taking me back. It loaded it the first time when I said it was up and it was good. Then it closed it out, and now I'm trying to. It says setting up code space again, but I think
Okay, I'm gonna
make
make a note just to kind of encourage people to use Chrome.
Yeah, I'm opening Chrome right now, so I'm gonna go to GitHub right now, and don't let me hold you guys up because I'm pretty sure of the process to get back to where I was at.
Okay. All right, so the great thing about selecting this kernel is this is the only time we have to do it. So this is just, but this setup piece, they looked into the former instructor looked into ways to try to automate that so you didn't have to do that. But I guess, the stars didn't align and GitHub wasn't cooperating. But what we're doing is we're selecting the Python interpreter. So think of Python. It's a language of the computer. A computer only really understands zeros and ones. So zeros and ones really, I know everybody's heard about that before, but what that is it's on and off. All it is it's very complicated set of light switches effectively. And the Python interpreter is just like if you were visiting Japan or another country we just don't speak the language in order to communicate to the people that don't speak English, you would use an interpreter. I mean, I think many of us may have dealt with that in the military or even Google Translate. It's same kind of concept here. And what we're doing is we're converting this code into something the computer can understand.
Code spaces.
I'm going to go over a few things for the next 5 minutes, and then we can, or not.
I'm starting to get it. That first problem, you had to just backspace it and it fixes it, huh?
Oh, this one right here? Yes, we'll go over the indentation.
Yeah.
Okay, so what syntax is is syntax is like it's like grammar in English. If you reverse your words and just throw your words into a sentence in, any random order, it just doesn't make sense. That's kind of like what syntax is in not just Python. This is universal to all programming languages. They're
Talking back about that app. I think that app helped me a lot. I recommend it for this kind of stuff. I don't know what else we're gonna learn, but for this kind of stuff, I feel like it'll help us. The app that the Solo Learn app.
what we can do is we could take that over to the interdecoding Slack channel. It'd be great. Any resources that we've got there, that's a perfect place where we can have them and then we can go back to them. Then you can actually throw the link to it and that sort of thing, if that's okay.
Helpful for what I can see right here.
Yeah, this is Python syntax is just like that's your number one step. Is that is how things are structured is the same as how you could just communicate with people. The same fundamentals with trying to communicate with the interpreter to the computer. There's obviously there's sets of rules that it has to follow. So one of these rules is the indentation rule, and that's what you were just pointing out. Is if you run this code as is, it gives you an indentation error.
And then also,
Oh,
I like how it does it always explain like what it is. Is that an AI thing that it
that is a
explains the
Python thing.
problem? That it
This
explains the problem, like where your problem is.
Yes, this is a Python thing, and this is there's no AI running here to help you with what's going on here. This is inherent to a lot of different programming languages, and it's kind of one of those key points of always reading your error because that's where when it's not running right, that's the part that's going to give you clues at what's going wrong. So this is one of the nice things about Python is it's an indentation error. So obviously there's
I
some
like
sort of
that. I like
spacing.
that. No wonder it's the easiest to learn, huh?
Well, there's another thing, being that we're using a code editor that's focused on Python, you can also see here's an indication right here. You see the squiggly line underneath the print giving you it's it's a good little helper, but not always a crutch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you still gotta know what you're doing.
Exactly. It's gotta because maybe I meant to do that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh yeah.
So
Here
I'm
we go.
trying to get back to where you guys are. I launched in the browser, the Laughing Umbrella, whatever the name of it was, and I'm back to where it says setting up your code space. And I've been looking at this page for the last 5 minutes here, and I'm in Google Chrome now.
Okay, so what we'll
There,
do
there it
is
goes. I got it now. Jesus Christ.
well, what we can do is we can take a 10-minute break and we can double check, see if there's any other issues, and we can pick right up and continue on. How's that sound for everybody?
So we'll be back at well my time
Sounds good.
East
I'll be
Coast.
back in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So Central Time, that would be 7 p.m. I'm sorry, I'm in Eastern, so
Yeah, me too. That's 8 for me. All right, I'll be
yeah.
back at 8. All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Pause
So
it. Okay, so like as we were talking about with the indentation with Python, you might have seen braces in or brackets in other languages, or brackets like these surrounding code blocks. You'll see that in JavaScript, C Sharp. I believe Java does that in C, but Python doesn't use that. As you see, we have this indentation here. We have a statement, and it's pretty much communicating to the interpreter that we have a statement here, and the following code block is part of that statement by this colon here. Oh, that's not good. This is part of the syntax, part of the grammar rules or what have you, whatever helps make that kind of apply. Other piece of the syntax, you see this print block here, and we have the parentheses around them. That this is print is something called a function, which functions do things. It's so easiest way to remember is print is a function that does something. And what we can see is from running the code, it prints something to the screen. Now, one of the things we were talking about is when the indentation does not line up, we'll run into an error. So this, as we saw, doesn't run because we have the indentation error. And a key point to remember is the errors that we run into, we really need to pay attention to them because they're telling us the failure point. It gives us the first hints that we need to start digging into our code and figure out what happened. This is pretty simple because, well, the two lines don't line up and we're getting this underline with squiggly. Another piece of another crucial part that I believe most programming languages have are comments. Before I continue on, are there any questions on the syntax and indentation?
So when starting, you always have to indent.
Well, this indentation is a part of this block of code. Okay. So if I were to take this and add the indentation, we have an unexpected indentation right here. Okay. So if I run that instead of, nope. So even though it's giving the squiggly lines, it's still running. That was unexpected, but what these squiggly lines are is this is the code editor kind of telling us, hey, I think this is not going to work. So not all the time will this kind of be, that's my problem. You see what I mean? And this is where, as I believe, was it Dom that said, or it was, as someone said, it's kind of knowing what you're looking at too. But notice how I pulled that indentation off. This will still run, even though it's spaced really far over. But as long as it's in line,
it stands true.
Right. So a lot of times that brings up another concept called white space. I can hit a space here and this is still fine. Because the interpreter is ignoring this white space. It doesn't really mean anything. But these two pieces here, they're highlighted differently. They're different keywords, which we'll cover keywords. But if I remove that white space, now we have a problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like same concept is speaking any language. If you jam two words together, it kind of becomes a different word.
Yeah.
And it means something completely different. So comments are a way to help kind of document and remind you of different things inside the code. The interpreter completely ignores them, so it's just going to skip right on over it. So if you click this play button, all you're going to get is the hello world. And you can see that there's a additional comment placed right afterwards. So it kind of helps you with annotating things that are more complicated. Generally, you don't want to comment everything. You might do it for a little while to remind you how to do a couple small things like where we're at right now, just examples and everything. But as you start developing and getting familiar with the language, you'll notice that you don't really have to write out in a comment what this does. You can kind of read that, it prints this text right here, correct?
Yeah, because the keyword print, I mean, is obviously that's its command, and it's
Right. And
going to output that as.
that there's common and similar commands across multiple languages. In Python, we use print. In JavaScript, there's console.log. C# is console.writeLine. I believe there's different types of prints like printf inside C. So, but notice how C it says print in the keyword, and they're using print here. A lot of times, print seems to be a very universal word used across a universal keyword across many languages.
And I mean, it would stand true at least in Python. I get what you're saying about the other languages, but using print just means it's going to display. That's the command.
Exactly. Yeah. And there we go. See how I highlighted over print?
Yeah.
It gives me a definition. It gives me an explanation of what this does. There's another way to get that same output. And if you go help print and I run that, everything that popped up
what
is
does
right
all that
here.
mean? What does all that mean? Like when you highlight it, what is like the function that?
When I highlighted over it and all of that
Yeah,
stuff came
yeah,
up.
yeah. What
Okay,
does all that stuff mean?
so a lot of that other stuff we're gonna learn throughout this course. All right. All of that def print and all of those things, we're going to cover that stuff later in this course. What I want you to pay attention to is the bottom part where it says, where it's the plain English, prints the values to a stream. And
Mhm.
yeah, that can be a little bit, this is documentation, it's built-in documentation for other programmers. That's one of the major things, and that's what's good about comments, is when you're writing code, you kind of get in the habit of writing code for other programmers. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Where we're making things readable and that sort of thing. So you let me clear that out. Um, yeah, and that's where your comments come through. When some logic or some problem that you're working on is kind of complex, it's a good time to start adding some comments, trying to explain this is what I'm trying to do here. And early on, it's good to comment things for reminders, but traditionally your comments they should be concise. They should be something that's good enough to get to the point and move on. A lot of the functions and stuff, as you start using them, they'll kind of explain what it's doing just by reading the code. Just in this easy example, this print example here. We also have multi-line comments, which are surrounded by these triple quotes. So the double quote key, which is on a Windows computer, it's usually the one right near the enter button. I believe it's the same on a Mac, correct?
Return button on a Mac.
Enter, return, yes. But
Yeah,
basically,
I see it. Yeah.
3 of those, and it will change the color when you're inside a code editor or something like that. And what it does is the same as the single line comment. If you have something that you're really breaking down a lot of information and you need multiple lines, this is the way to do it without having to put the pound sign in front of every single line, because that can get pretty tedious. Any questions so far?
Mm-mm.
Now, Dom, you're asking, does Python change the colors for you? That is, the colors relate to whatever tool you're using to edit the code with. These colors right here, these are Visual Studio Code specific. But if I was running something like JetBrains, let me try to remember. JetBrains PyCharm or Visual Studio, the full-blown Visual Studio, or another IDE like Eclipse, the colorings would be different. And they really relate to the language that you're running and that sort of thing. This is just this is helpful if you're used to working with VS Code. Then you'll start getting used to like this purple is a function. This red was some sort of keyword. This blue is a type of value and that sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, to me, yeah.
Anybody got any questions?
Can we highlight the other ones? The other ones aren't
Which ones are you talking about?
like the if true. Oh snap! What did I do? The if true. Do they have a comment as well as well as the?
So these, no, they do not. Let me see here. I don't believe there's a help on it. We will see.
No, just the print has it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so it's not going to find anything here because the if is part of a bigger statement.
What's
And
the what's the name of the is it called function? It's all called function, right? The print itself is a function, right?
yes, print is a function and functions do things pretty much.
Values, okay. I don't know what values are. Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're into variables now. Now,
Function.
variables are it's a named location in memory. So think of memory as we've all dealt with warehouses. It's a huge warehouse, and each spot has or warehouses have racks. And effectively, what we're doing is we're naming a variable and storing it in a rack location. So your rack location, if you've dealt with warehousing before, you usually have like a rack row, maybe a shelf, and to be able to find whatever bin. That's effectively what your memory address here is it references our particular variable that we've created. The variable, like in this example, this is a data type of string with the text Roger in it. And we're sitting inside this box, which sits inside this rack location. Dealing with those rack locations would be just not fun at all. So we give our variables names to give them some kind of meaning to us and to help program easier. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so here's a rundown of basically what we were talking about. We've got 4 variables assigned here, and they're all of different types: integer, string, float, and Boolean. And if we run this ID function, when put inside this print function, is giving us the rack location of where these variables are. Any questions?
Should we play it?
Yeah, go right ahead. I want you to play everything as we go right through.
So is the rack number just like how is the rack number assigned? Like I get the part of
Okay,
using the
so
variable for Roger. I'm just not understanding where the rack number is coming from.
that is what the computer assigns. These are the
Okay.
pieces behind the scenes that, thanks to naming variables, we don't have to do this part.
Okay.
Okay. In some languages, you do have to mess with this stuff. At least you don't have to do this with Python. It's actually recommended that you don't use this method to manipulate variables inside Python.
Because the user is the one inputting that information, right?
Well, in this particular case, we're not getting any information from the user right now. These are variables we're assigning to these values to do maybe a calculation or build a sentence or something like that.
So
But the information gotten from a user is assigned to a variable, so it does fall into the same building block. It's just a little bit more advanced. You know what I mean?
yeah. No. What about the John?
So John,
Why is John mine is red? Oh,
that might be just
what?
did you click play? Is there any errors coming up?
No, it's no errors.
Then the coloring is just different between our two UIs. Yeah. because John might be red because it's a string, and in some in some UIs, strings will show up a different color than other values. It's just the
Oh,
way mine's configured here, it's not showing up as red. So
now
that's basically
you know what messed me
cosmetics.
up? You know what messed me up is the comments because I'm not used to the comments yet.
I got you. Yeah, these are inline comments to help explain what we're dealing with here. Um,
That's definitely a string. Yep, yep. I remember.
okay, and for these data types that we're talking about, an integer is any whole number.
Mm-hmm.
A string is any collection of characters. Now, if I go like this, that is still a string. And the reason why it's still a string is because of these two quotes right here. It's treating them as a character. Um, any questions about that?
So adding the quotation marks would make it a string or
The quotation, yes, these quotation marks, when we're assigning it this way, we are assigning a string,
okay.
which this is the string, which gets assigned to the variable named name.
So I guess my question would be is like I understand age, name, price, and then like the is valid part I'm a little confused on, but when this is spitting out the rack number, is that just assigning a rack number to like this variable that we're creating?
Yes. And if I run that again, you'll notice those rack numbers changed. That's the reason why we don't want to focus on that rack number right now.
Okay.
It's more of a that's a that's kind of a familiarity of what's going on inside under the hood. So we don't need to really focus on that a lot
Okay.
because Python's an easy language and it's so much easier just dealing with name than this number right here,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Now, a float, a float is a floating point integer type of value. And what that means is it's got a decimal point. It you can have it can be if I go and change that to 29.00, it's still a floating point integer because we still have a decimal inside there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, I just want to make sure. Now, Booleans, they can kind of be confusing to some people. So think this is where that on off comes. The Booleans are true or false or on or off. And that's the only two values this can be. So you could see that this is capitalized true. In Python, we capitalize true and false. So and notice how that turned blue. It knows that that is a keyword. But if I change that, you see how that it lost the color and now it's got a squiggly is like, what do you mean here?
Why? Why? Oh, okay. Because
Because
it's
the keyword is capital inside Python. Now that's another thing that is depends on the language you're using.
so true and false are capital letters.
In Python, yes, they're capital letters and they are Booleans, so they can only have one of the two values. So is the light switch on? Is it off? Is this a valid response or is this not a valid response? Things like password checkers, there's lots of cases we can come up with true false cases. Any questions so far? Yes, anything with a decimal is a float inside Python. Oh, I see a little example here. Yes. So Dom, you tried to run this print ID float. Is that what you tried to run?
I was reading
from
the
chat.
I was
Yep.
reading the comment. That was my bad.
Oh, no worries. I want to explain why this does not work.
Because that was the comment, so it's not an actual space for it. It's not named.
And float is a keyword. When I highlight over this, you see it's got a pop-up. It's got information.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Yeah,
float
because if I
does
changed
something
it,
else, right?
yeah,
But
when I
if you
changed it to price, it printed.
exactly, yeah. One thing I believe you can do if you do the help, now all of that extra information showed up. Because help is a built-in, it's a built-in documentation tool. So you can take any one of these, you could take print, ID, except for the value types. You could take those, toss them into help, and get some kind of information on them. I understand that a lot of this stuff looks very, very, it's going to be technical, but you might be, most times you're just looking for that line right there and don't worry about the rest of this. There's a lot of things, but that kind of tells you what you can do with that. And there's a lot. So getting back on track, we're naming variables. There's some certain rules in the syntax for what we're dealing with Python, and a lot of these they're similar in most languages. So you must begin your variable name with a letter or an underscore. So okay. So I can't go. The reason why this doesn't work is because 12 is a literal value. That is an integer. So you can't use numbers to start your variable name. But if I went, if I added an underscore in front of it, now it's fine. It's the only reason why this is colored funny and it's giving me information right now is because I'm not using that variable. So it's basically asking me, why did I put that in there? You cannot put any spaces or special characters inside your variable names. That's where the white space does matter. If you're trying to put spaces into things, that you just use underscores inside Python. The case sensitivity, that definitely matters because yes, my name, the two different ways that these are presented here would be different variables because this capital N and this lowercase n, they translate to different things to the interpreter. We were talking a little bit about Python keywords: if, while, class, function, print, ID. A lot we can't use they're reserved keywords because they have specific meaning inside Python.
You're talking about within the variables, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So you can't name a variable if. I can't go if equals 10.
Mm-hmm.
See how that it just yeah, it's asking me what are you even trying to do here? But we'll get familiar with a lot of the keywords by actually using them. That's going to be the best way to start kind of learning the things. Is you just get practiced at using things. But you'll definitely, when you're using a code editor like Visual Studio Code, it'll give you an idea that maybe I shouldn't be using that name there. You know what I mean? With Python, and this is like a developer standard for Python that they use something called snake case. snake case naming is just like all of these right here, where we can't have spaces, so they use an underscore. So my underscore name, my underscore age, my amazing variable name. And that's the code will still run if we write it a different way. It's just that's more like a rule of thumb that kind of helps other Python programmers know what's going on and everything. This this variable right here, that is something called camel case, and that's more for like JavaScript, C sharp, and I believe Java. Those are the rules of thumb that they use that style of naming in those languages, and it's just something that you kind of understand when you start learning the language. I believe some companies can decide that they want to implement naming standards or something like that. And if you're working for a company, naturally, the company standard takes precedence over everything else. Any questions up to here? Okay. So a constant is a variable type which you shouldn't change. The examples here, pi, obviously, that's an easy one. Pi doesn't change. I believe this is the gravity for Earth. And then like this max retries might be something for maybe a password login or something like that, where you don't want that number to change. And this is more of a guideline, again, just like the snake case, where constants should have all capital letters in their names. It kind of signifies to other Python developers that they shouldn't be changing this variable. But it's a guideline, but it doesn't make it so I can't change it.
Mm.
So that's more of the kind of respecting people and when they take and kind of respecting the intent behind the variable. They, there's there's no way in Python to prevent you from changing it, but you could cause some pretty bad things if you change like Earth's gravity, right? Pretty interesting experience though. So as we went over some of the variables up above. We covered Boolean, integer, float, string. Now there's this nothing or non-existent variable type. It's the absence of a value, or in Python, it's a none type. You might have seen things called a null type, or it's it's not the same as zero. It means no data at all. There's absolutely nothing there. So in the case of our warehouse racks, there is nothing in that spot. Absolutely nothing. If our value was zero, there would be an actual zero, because zero has meaning. But in this particular rack spot or memory spot, there is absolutely nothing. So there's no meaning. If that makes sense. Is anybody got questions about that?
When would you have to use the non
The
this
null, the none type, maybe if you're trying to see if a variable was ever declared or something like that, or if information got wiped out. There's there's different use cases. We probably won't run into it yet, but I'll try to make a mental note, put a good example in there, because that's a very good question.
Yeah, because the app I was learning everything as far as Boolean, integer, float, string on the app, but the non they never really touched they haven't touched on that. So yeah.
What I'll do is I'll make a note of that, and I'll pop some examples into the Intro to Coding Slack channel, and we can kind of iterate over that, see what sounds good, and maybe add that into here. Just it's a good question.
Yep.
Okay, so here's a good example here. So this is different data types. They have certain properties. Well, you know that an integer is a whole number, and you can add two whole numbers together. But in this example right here, if you try to play it, you get a type error. Can anybody, before I go into this, can anybody give an idea what the problem is here?
Um, you're trying to add an integer with a float. I mean, an integer with a string
Why can't you do that?
because it's
Because
against
It
the rule.
needs to be converted
yes,
or
it needs to be
interpreted.
converted. Yeah, because that three, it's a character. It's not a number. You can't
It
do
doesn't
math.
recognize that it doesn't
Right.
recognize. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
recognize to be converted. Yeah.
So this is the
So
section of the next piece right
on
here,
on on on
typecasting. Go
on
ahead.
this, on this one, would you put the would you convert it by saying putting the parentheses float on next to the three, right?
Hmm.
Parentheses float and then close parentheses.
Like this.
No, like no on the parentheses on the float. My fault.
On the float?
Yeah.
Where do you mean?
Uh,
Where's the float?
around it float. Yeah, like the parentheses you have around the three, put it on the float.
Okay, so
Is that how you would do it? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
okay, so we're actually stepping into that next example right here.
Oh, I was right.
The first, by putting the string into
Not a
our
float.
converter.
I meant to say integer, man.
No worries, no worries.
Not a float.
Now, just in as example, the float would work because you can add an integer and a float. They're both numbers.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong. That's the key right there. You'll just, if I go float, and this is good because we can compare the answers right here. If I run this, it gives me 4.0, right?
Hmm.
If I run this, it gives me 4.
Okay.
So because we converted this 3, we've converted it into 3.0.
When you declare something like a float or a string, you don't put anything around it. I thought you did. Okay.
This is typecasting. Okay. So when we declared this stuff in Python, you don't have to declare the data type. Whereas if I was doing, I could go,
Okay. That's casting right there with the
this
int.
right here is declaration in a different language. That's what it would look like inside C#.
Sheesh.
Okay. The C# is a statically typed language, which means you have to declare that stuff. Where did I have this line? Whereas with Python, it's dynamically typed. So what it's doing is it looks at the data that you're trying to assign right here, and it knows that true is a Boolean value. So this must be a Boolean. This has a decimal, so this must be a float value. This has quotes, it makes it a string, so this must be a string. Does that help clarify it?
Yeah.
Okay. Python's one of the dynamically typed languages and statically typed languages. Differ on that piece right there. Now, one other piece of this being dynamic is I have is valid is true, but I can also go is valid. And this will run because it switches the type. Dynamically typed languages can do that. Statically languages generally can't. You can't change the type once it's assigned. And there's reasonings behind the design behind both of those. Is that clear?
And if you run that, it'll say false, right? Because his name is John, not Steve, right?
Nope, I completely reassigned it. I
Oh,
changed. So if I go like this, let's go like this.
you reassigned it? Damn.
So I'm going to give you printouts right after each one. So first it's true, now it's Steve.
Oh.
And that's changing the data type. You can do that in a dynamically typed language, whereas statically you cannot. This would give me an error if I tried to switch it from a bool to a string. I need a new type of variable in a statically typed language. So that's where this makes Python an easier to learn language because you can start changing those things a little bit.
And you did that by saying print is valid. Okay.
Print is valid. Okay, so actually, let me go over.
True.
So variable assignment is very, very specific. This is this is the name of the thing we're trying to assign, and this is the value we're trying to give it. I'm putting those in the wrong spots. I cannot do, it is not vice versa. Okay. This is part of the syntax. This is part of the grammar. Okay. So how you know that I changed it is I started here with is valid, and then I took the exact same name and changed what it was assigned to. Do you see what I mean there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is something definitely fun to play with on your own too, because you can continuously change your variable types as long as it's a valid data type, which are these right here. Now, with casting, with typecasting, we took this 3, which was a string, and a note about strings in Python, you can use single quotes or double quotes. So this means the same as this. They come up with the same answer.
Question.
Go ahead.
What's the point of the single quotes if it works without it?
If it works without it?
Yeah, like I tried to do like 1 plus integer and then the parentheses 3, and then it worked.
Because 3 is an integer.
But you have like the quotation marks. Why?
Right. So how about I go like this? So if I change this, I'm going to go type is a keyword. It's a function that tells us what the type of the variable we're using are. So 3, even though it has the number in here, it's a string. It will work. This will work with the 3, because if I just put the number 3 in there, that is an int. And that's why it works. You're not actually casting it in, it's already an int. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, not a problem. But like here, you cannot mix and match. You can't mix and match double quotes and single quotes. As you can see, I got a squiggly line here. But if I use single quotes, that is still a string. Now, one of the reasons why you might want to, you want to try to remain consistent, whether you're using double quotes or single quotes. But one of the things that you can use when you pick one or the other, yeah, there we go. Now we can use the single quote or the apostrophe inside the sentence. That has to do, I don't remember if this is part of it, but if you wanted to use the double quote, there's this slash character you would put in front of it, and you see how it changes it to red. This is called escaping, so that you can use quotes inside of another quote, so you can build out a story or whatever use case you might need here. Okay. Yep, here's the type. So using the type, this should say print. I would not get in the habit of just putting the type there. What I would do is I would use print all of the time, because one bad habit you can develop from Jupyter Notebooks is it will print out this type here inside Jupyter Notebooks. But if you were to try to do this inside a regular code editor on your outside of Jupyter Notebooks, it would give you an error, or it wouldn't give you an error. It would just not give you anything at all because you didn't tell it to print to the screen. So it's very explicit. You got to tell it what you mean. Any questions there? What are you getting, Josh? Feel free to come off mute if you'd like. When you print my
Okay,
type.
so when I type print parentheses type my variable or in close parentheses, I get class float. Oh wait,
That's
it's
fine.
different now. Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
If it
that's
says
fine.
class, if it says class float, then that's fine. These basically, they're telling you the same information. We'll go over what classes are later, but it has to do with the data type of what it's a deeper dive into what makes up the data types, if that makes sense. Okay, so one key, I think we went over it a little bit, is when we take and we convert something into a float, we got that 0.0. So it changed the result into a float, even though we were adding it to an integer. And Python works that way, where if one of the variables is a float, then the whole result needs a float because there may be some accuracy in there. The interpreter assumes that there's accuracy that you intend to keep by using a float in your equation or whatever math you're working on. So that's implicit implied part of Python. Now, I went through and I quickly hit print on here. I should have asked if anybody was could guess what this, or could kind of figure out what this would do. Now, why did it give me this answer? Does anybody know?
Uh, because it's two strings and two strings don't really add. They just it's a concoction or something. What's it called?
Concatenate.
There you go. Yep, you're on the right path. This is concatenation.
Yeah, they
And
concatenation. Yeah,
when you add strings, you put strings together.
yeah,
Yes, they're all characters. And to add strings, you put them in a longer line of strings.
yeah.
Pretty simple. It's definitely something you can play with. You can concatenate a whole bunch of different strings as long as they stay strings.
Yeah.
And again, try to do your best to surround this with a print statement. Just it's a good habit that will save you frustration later. I promise. Here it doesn't really, well, it does show it a little bit different. But this is the actual output if you were running this on outside of Jupyter notebooks. Okay, so here's definitely a good point. When you're taking this float, now, well, actually, what do you think is going to happen here?
Error.
Why?
You're trying to convert a float to an integer.
Well, that's not really a float, is it?
Oh, you're right. It's a string. Damn. Yeah, that's exactly why. Because you're trying. Yeah, it's a string. Yeah.
And it's hidden in there, but yeah, what would work is if you add the float in there and cast that string into a float, and now you've got an answer. Now notice you took this float and it just got rid of anything after the decimal point. That's a key thing to keep in mind when you're typecasting. If you need that, you gotta make sure that whether you need to make sure you know whether you need those decimal points or not.
Yeah.
Okay, and we did go over a bit about Booleans. We didn't go over if statements or anything like that. But in a nutshell, like I said, it's whether the switch is on or off. That's really what a Boolean is all about. Is like you can only if you have something that you can only have two states, yes, no, true, false, on, off, you use a Boolean. And the reason for that is it it takes up less space in memory. The rack space inside the warehouse is a smaller rack space, so you can make more space for bigger things. Now I see Josh asked if why didn't this typecast round it up to 5?
Yeah.
Well, rounding is a mathematical function, and we didn't tell it to round. It sounds funky because I know going through all of our math schooling and everything, we would have rounded that because that would have just made sense to us. But a, a computer doesn't know that. So it just when you said I want an int, it says, okay, anything after the decimal point doesn't matter because you said it didn't matter. That's really what this says right here. Does that make sense? You don't have to actually program it to round. There is a library for that. That's the awesome thing about programming is libraries are like kind of like when you're dealing with Legos and let's say you're trying to use like a boat Lego and they have some of those specially shaped, you know, um, rounded ones. A library kind of like has those shapes where we can just pull it, somebody else built it, and then we can use that piece to build what we need. We don't need to teach the computer how to round. You can if you want to, but you could just use the piece somebody else has already built, tested, and make sure it works to get to the result we wanted to. Okay, exactly. Work smarter, not harder. It's a principle we've used in the military for a long time, or we hope to, right? Okay, so we've covered numbers. Numbers are integers and floats. Now, mathematical operators, actually here, let's take a break here. It is 7:54. We can come back at 8:05 and we'll pick up. I'm going to pause the recording and then I can answer any questions or okay. All right. So now we're going to dive into mathematical operators. We got a list right here. The the operations will be pretty familiar to us. The symbols might be a little bit to get used to. And there we go. So for exponents, you do a double star. So this section right here, that is 8 to the 5th power.
Oh yeah. Exponents. I almost forgot what exponent meant. In a long time.
Multiplication, instead of using an X, you're using an asterisk. Division uses a single slash. Now, I know it was brought up with doing rounding before. I'm going to show an example of what floor division is here. I'm going to give you the same two answers or two problems. Let's put these inside print. I think I'll go through and make sure everything's surrounded by print just to help everybody out. So if we run this, you see the difference there?
Yep, it rounded to the nearest.
It's floor division. So which way is it going to round?
Forward. Down. It
Floor
rounded
division always rounds down. So it
Never heard.
effectively,
I never heard of that term before. Flooring, like flowing down. I always hear it up, like you know what I'm saying? Like
you usually hear rounding up.
rounding
Yes.
up, yes. Not
And floor division is usually more associated with programming and stuff like that. In an essence, we're getting rid of the decimal point. We're just dropping it. That's really what we're doing.
so you're
All we care about
you're never rounding up, you're always flooring when it comes
with
to
floor division. With floor division, there is a different round, and that's part of that mathematical library that we'll look into later. But this is a built-in operator that's all it really does is it drops off the 0.75. I could also do this. And get the same answer. With programming, there's usually multiple ways to do things. It's just, why type out all that when you can just add another slash? There is a way to get it to round up, but I believe, let's see here.
Okay.
I'll have to remember that one. Let's see here. And this, these are some of the built-in things that you can go to. Was it RND? No. See this floor right here? That is the same thing as the two slashes. Okay. Offhand, I can't remember how to do that. I will. There is a method, but you have to call another library to be able to pull it. dir is kind of like a directory, but not in the same way that you're thinking. That's showing all of the pieces that are part of that library that I pulled in. Okay, we'll cover that stuff later. So we understand the difference between division and floor division, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a different kind of operator. I don't think I've ever seen it outside of programming. This is called the modulus operator. And what this does is it gives us the remainder of our result. Okay. One very useful thing for the modulus operators, what I've just done here is I've just shown one as an odd number and one as an even number, because if it evenly divides by 2, the remainder is 0. And you can use other numbers, like you can see how many times 5 goes into 2 whole, or 22 whole, and that sort of thing. I think the most common use I've seen for the modulus operator is for determining whether you have an even number or an odd number. And I believe a lot of times that's in a lot of programming um, skill questions and practice questions and things like that. Any questions there? I believe addition and subtraction that's pretty straightforward for us. Now, Python, this is a key piece here. Python performs arithmetic following PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So if we broke this out, it would naturally do this calculation here first.
Okay.
And then I'm not gonna, it'll break down in the order until you get to your result. So you really need to keep that in mind when you're doing math. And sometimes, just like with math from school or whatever, sometimes you need to toss parentheses in to make absolutely sure that it's doing things in the order that you want. Any questions there? Okay. So now we can dive into strings a little bit more. Strings, like we said, is a sequence of characters. And this it shows you, okay, so this string Python has locations, okay? Each character is sitting in a location. Now, one major thing to remember in most or many programming languages, but not all, but Python is one of them. It starts at 0 to count. So our first place is index 0. And then the second place is index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we run this section right here, it's going to take this full string and give you the characters that correspond with these locations. Now, why didn't it print anything for this? Can anybody tell me?
It's probably a space.
Why didn't is that an error or what is that?
It's not an error. It printed a blank space.
A space is a character. There is a space. All these characters, they refer to codes in the computer and stuff, and a space actually has a code behind it. So remember when we were talking about the none type, this isn't a none type, it is a character type, which is space, right? Sometimes that's difficult for people to pick up, so I just want to I just want to make sure that's crystal. Yes, it did print it.
So 0 is T.
Do you have a question?
No, I'm just looking.
This indexing is going to help build us into the next piece of strings.
Oh, okay. So damn, I gotta.
So we can use this index of this string to pull out whatever character we want. What this is covering is called backward indexing of strings. So you can use this same concept in reverse.
T I.
So if I run this, now we have the period, which was the last number. So you can count backwards through the string this way. So like if you wanted the last X amount of characters or something like that, you could do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one major thing to remember about strings is they're immutable. And what immutable means is we can't change what that character is. So this right here demonstrates that, where a string, we can't change this period to an explanation point. Does that make sense to everybody?
So basically, you can change the whole string. Like, so let's say I declare, so let's say I have a variable, I declare the variable. Like, I can give it a new value, but I can't change things within the variable. That's what we're
Well,
saying
what
here.
it's doing, and I have an example of that, if I can find it. Well, there we go. So I have an example right here. Now, if I run this, we were talking about these right here are the warehouse. Those are your rack locations, right? And this is the name John sits in this rack location, right? And that's where I set it up right here. We print John in our rack location. That is the ID. And now we change that string to David. You notice that rack location is now different. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Oh, so it gave it a, it
It's a
assigned like
new,
different memory
it's
location.
it's in a new spot. Now, do you see what I have underneath here? This is a complicated thing and you don't recommend doing it. But if I take that old rack location, John is still there. But name doesn't mean John anymore. We didn't change the variable. We didn't change what that was. It's still there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
This was an experiment dealing with something called garbage collection. And one of the advantages of using Python is it handles garbage collection, which means destroying these things for you. In other type strict languages and other lower level languages, you have to handle that yourself. So knowing those rack locations becomes extremely important there. Thankfully, we don't have to do that with this one, but it doesn't instantly happen when you reassign the value or when you move the rack location of the string, it may still be there. So one kind of rule of thumb is try not to change strings as much as you can because they may not be gone because you can eat up memory that way. If you're talking about in like repetitions of maybe 100,000 or some crazy thing like that, you're not going to be typing that out
What
by
do you
hand. But go
what do
ahead.
what do you mean about eating memory? Like what does that mean?
Each one of those rack locations is a place inside memory.
Okay, so
And you only have so much. You might have a lot, but you only have so much.
okay. So
And
that's
we'll
what
go over that when we get into some of the other data structures and things like that. I'll show you how to eat up all your memory really fast.
because even a website carries memories, right? Like everything.
Yes, everything carries memory because it
Okay.
has to sit in memory to be accessible.
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So, but does that help? Does that help clarify how it's a new string? It's completely different rack location. That it's e- even the old one will exist there for a little while.
Yeah.
And this is the example of going through and changing, making a new string and whatnot. I believe, oh, maybe, okay, let's make sure this one runs. And then we run this one. Now, the interesting thing about this is with Jupyter Notebooks. It's referencing the my string from up here. So that's one of the handy things is you can build out some of these examples that kind of feed into the next pieces. Um, Slicing strings. Now, slicing strings helps build on top of that indexing. Yes, the memory is RAM. And when you're dealing with programs, the memory that you're dealing with is usually RAM unless you're actually writing to storage. Writing to storage is obviously other types of operations, but when you declare a variable, you are allocating, you're placing that variable in the random access memory, the RAM warehouse. Does that work? Sorry, the question was, is that memory like RAM or storage? So that's where it's not actually writing these variables to your disk anywhere. So if you run your program and shut your computer off, that stuff's gone. Just like, yeah, so all right. So with slicing is how we can grab pieces of our strings.
Understood that. Yep. Following along.
So
Damn, I'm sorry.
slicing has a start, a stop, and a step.
Wait, where are we?
We're
Oh,
on string operations and methods.
operations, yeah.
So if I run this, this is going to get just a piece of the full string. Now, one key to remember is this stop or this end is exclusive. And what that means is it gets everything from index 11 all the way up to index 18, but not including index 18. So this D, if we count it out from this is my change string, this is position 17 or index 17. Index 18 is this space, but as this shows with the quotes by outputting this variable, there is no space here. So you always have to remember that when you're dealing with slicing. Good rule of thumb, count out how many characters you want, add one, and you should be usually good to go. Your step is the increments you want to go, or just like, yeah, just like stairs on steps on a staircase. By default, when we go up a staircase, or we go one step at a time. So if we don't specify the step, it goes one step at a time when it counts. If we change this to go for every other, now we get every other letter in this particular word.
In what situation would you have to use this?
It really depends. It really depends on what you're using your strings for. Most of this is functionality sake. Honestly, that's a good thing to toss in there. Use case.
Yeah, because I mean, as we're going through this, I'm just like I'm trying to
There is
understand,
another
but
there is
two,
another
figure
use
out the
case
use.
for there is another use case for the step that we will cover here, but a use case for a positive step. Um, I know I've used them before, but I can't think of when I've used them.
I mean, it's all right. We can come back to it. It's not a problem.
Okay, having a good example just helps kind of drive things home. I like that. Um,
For 1118, where
if you count through, what you do is you start counting. The T is the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 11.
11 is space, right?
11 is the C.
Yeah.
1,
Because
2,
our start is inclusive. We start at the actual start. So 11 is
0.
the, yeah, but make sure you start at 0. That's true.
Yes, I didn't start with 0. Yeah, that's what
That's going to be a major, major thing. Always start at 0 when we're dealing with Python. But you'll notice the 18 is the space.
Yes, yes, I see.
So that's what I mean by exclusive. It excludes that piece right there.
Okay.
So if we change that to 17,
This
we
is
lose the D.
my basic string. This is my, where did I get basic from? Basic. This is my basic string. Basic S. Okay.
Okay. So if we don't specify the start, it defaults to 0. So when I run this, it gets the word this, because we start at 0, go up to 4, exclusive, and we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how we got the word this out of here. Now,
So
I believe we were talking, is everything clear on that?
yep.
How would you specify a certain string that you wanted to do this with?
When you're searching for a particular string?
Yeah, so like on yours it just says my string. Like if there was like a specific string that you wanted to, I guess take this what you're
Like
explaining.
if there's like that.
When you have to declare it first so it knows what my string is. I think that's the question,
Yeah,
right?
Actually, I think I
exactly.
need to, well, I use the same exact word. So that doesn't.
Because like in coding, you'll have obviously multiple strings. I'm trying to like specify like I think what
There. So if we were using a string that we didn't build, you could just do it after the quotes. Is that what you're talking about?
no, so like when you have like multiple strings that are like already done and you go to take the step that you're doing currently by like counting the numbers like and changed, how would you specify a certain string that you wanted to do this with?
Generally, when you're splitting strings, you already have an idea of the stuff you're looking for. So if you're splicing doesn't search the string, it's It's
So,
literally it's a very dumb search. It's just taking whatever is in that position and it's giving it to you. It's not looking for a word.
okay.
Okay. So there are ways to look for words. They're in a different kind of topic.
Okay.
Is that what you're looking for? Kind of
Yeah.
working more like the idea, how does a search engine work, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. This right here is it's a very, very simple search. And a lot of times it, it mostly deals with, the context of what your string is looking like, and there's certain pieces you're pulling from it. So it really depends on it always depends on the problem that you're working with. And you'll find that with a lot of the use cases here.
Understood.
That's why it's a little bit difficult to kind of come up with stuff off the head, but it's something I'll definitely try to have in my little notebook of things to talk about. Now, we did talk a bit about reverse indexes, right? So if you put a negative number as your start for your splice, it will start counting backwards and then take everything. There's nothing here. So that assumes that it's the rest of the string. So if you leave off what's after the colon, it expects everything after the string. So we could even change that to 6 and get everything after position 6 and after. Everybody good with that? Yes, when you throw in a negative, it will start counting backwards.
I have a feeling we wouldn't use that much in real life, huh?
It it depends. It really depends. Like it depends on what types of strings you're dealing with. Um, like what about you could use that if you're looking for a suffix of a file name, like something that needed to be like a .txt file or a .doc file. That's where reverse indexing could come in handy, because generally you're looking at the last 3 characters of whatever string you're dealing with. I can think of a use case there.
Okay.
Now, this right here is a bit different. Now, this is where we were talking about the steps, and I can easily think of a use case for the reverse. This is for a negative on the step will reverse the entire string when you don't specify a start and a stop. But the same can be true if we start mixing and then is reversing everything after the T. No, I don't know of a use case where I would use the negative in the front just for, but the reversing a string is a common beginning problem, is how to do this. Don, you're talking about switching the M and the C in changed? What are you talking about? Can you explain? So if the string is, this is my change string, and you want to try to change a letter, you cannot switch 2 letters. Okay, because strings are immutable. and that is where we went back to the positionings. This right here, where it tries to change the character. It tries to change this period into an exclamation point. But strings themselves don't support that. The only way to do that is to create a new string. So what you could do some splicing or slicing to be able to do something like oh, yep, here we go. I reversed that. Effectively, it's different things like this is how you would manipulate that. In the in a nutshell, you're still working with having to create a new string to be able to modify even just one character from the entire thing. When you're trying to change a character in the middle, then you're effectively dealing with two splices and just kind of taking the piece of I took the piece of this, so everything from here after, and added a different word to it. But if we printed out the IDs, we're going to have two different IDs. There's still two completely different strings. Does that help? Okay. So strings, does anybody else have any questions regarding splicing? Slicing? Slicing. Sorry.
Yeah, it'll take some practice, but I'm getting it.
A
What's
lot of times it takes hands-on and playing with it and just tear apart the things.
what's the name of that character around the four and the end?
Right here. Oh, that's a colon.
Colon. Okay, that's a
So
colon.
when you're dealing with splicing, or slicing, your separators are your colons. And
That's only used for splicing.
in this particular example, because we have two braces, the square brackets, we have two braces, and then we have the colon in the middle.
No, that's what I meant. The braces. No, the
Yeah,
colon.
because that signifies having those braces there. That tells us that we're looking for having those brackets there. Yeah, I apologize. Having those brackets there tells us that we're looking for an index from first string.
Okay. Okay.
So if I got rid of that colon, what we get is the space.
Here. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why it looks That's why it looks like nothing showed up, is because I inadvertently specified the space. But by adding the colon, that means I want to start at index 4 and grab everything after. And that's how I pulled the rest of my sentence. But that also takes me knowing that the first word that I want to replace is 4 characters long.
Okay.
So if I added another character, this is where I'm saying this is a very simple thing that it's doing.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so there are things like methods. There are things like methods are, think of them as kind of like functions. Methods do something. And the string is a class. I believe somebody mentioned that something about one of their outputs said class equals string or str. And what that means is there's other things you can do with the string. So one of these methods is the upper method. And what it does is it converts everything in the string to uppercase characters. And we can see that right here. We take our text, we assign it to hello world, then we make a new variable called upper text, and we make that text dot upper. Now, this and with the slicing, they're not actually changing what's stored inside the warehouse. They're not changing the original variable. So if I print text, it's still the lowercase hello world. We didn't actually change anything there. We just asked it to display in a different way. But the base data is still the same. And that's the same thing when we're dealing with splicing. If we print the first string again, we didn't actually change anything. We just took a piece from it. Now, just like with upper, it has a lower as well, which will make everything lowercase. They're pretty self-explanatory. And then we have a capitalize. Capitalizes the first character of a string, as we see here, but it also makes everything else lowercase. So we could see this, but if I change the Python programming, notice how this P is still lowercase. Any questions? Okay, and then we can move into something they call title case, which is when you have every first word capitalized. So we have the Python programming here. We call text in the title method to be able to assign to the title text, and then we get something that is capitalized with each word.
The title. Okay.
Yeah. What did I just do? There. Any questions so far? There are lots of methods, and you don't want to try to memorize all of them, but knowing it's a thing, and I believe yeah, you can definitely do a help, and I believe this will break down. This is truncating it right here. That's what the three dots mean. So it's showing you that there's a lot of information in here. One of the other ways to see just what the methods are is this print dir. And that's when we start scrolling in here, we'll get by all of the double underscores. And then there's capitalize. There's ends with, find, format. There's lots of different things that string can do. It's something that a lot of these will help. We're just going over some of these right now. Like, so another one here is strip. And what we're doing is we're removing any white space from the string itself. So you can see there's this huge gap of space here, huge gap of space here. And we run strip, it cleans it up for us. Here starts with, it's pretty self-explanatory. We can go through a lot of these. Is there any of these that doesn't make sense to anybody, or any questions?
No, not at this moment.
So this might be more of what you were looking for swapping characters. You're talking more about looking to replace a character. You see what I mean? So you might want to explore that, where it takes and it replaces the slash character for the date and swaps it out with a dash. The split function is another one used quite often, but the split function, the split method is going to do something different. It's going to turn the result into a different data type. And this is going to be something that we're going to cover later. But it's going to cover it. It's going to turn it into a list. I don't believe. Yeah, I don't believe lists are in here, but that will make more sense of why we would want to do this later. But you can see what the result here looks like is it has this 3 string, this 14 string, and this 2024 string. It took this single string and broke it out into 3, all separated by the slash. And lists are something that is more advanced than what we're covering today. But you'll see similarities between lists and how strings work. Any questions? And then just like there's a split, there's also a join where you can actually take 2 strings and combine them together. You're still creating a new string, but it joins them using a join method instead of using the plus that we were doing. So let's see here. This joined everything with nothing in here. But if we go and we put a character in here, like we'll put the dash back in here, and all of a sudden it puts the dashes all back in. So we use this. This is our piece we want to join with, and this is the text, or this is the list that we want to use to join. So that's where it gets a little bit, we're stepping a little bit more complicated, especially because we haven't touched lists yet. But if you can see how this broke it into a list, which that's what these brackets outside mean, and then you see the different elements separated by commas. And what it does is it takes these pieces, it feeds it back into the string join method and uses this character to add them back together. Any questions there? I know that one might be a bit complicated.
Yeah, that one right there is a little bit.
Yeah, I know you mentioned lists. Oh, sorry.
That one I highly suggest playing with. That one's just something that getting your fingers on and just playing with it to see what it does. But lists are going to be the tricky part. is because, well, we effectively have not covered lists yet. So
Can we play with this out like outside of the
yeah,
class?
of course, by all means, I encourage everybody to play with it as much as they can. It's the only way you're going to learn. I mean, most of the stuff I learned was by breaking stuff. So
Got you. So we're gonna learn to interact with not only lists, I'm assuming arrays and also dictionaries as
okay,
well.
so Python doesn't have arrays. Python has lists, but they're very similar on how they work. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Some some languages like C sharp has both arrays and lists, which yeah, that makes things confusing. But effectively, while we're here in Python, we're focused on lists. Inside JavaScript, you would be focused on using arrays, but I believe they're, for the most part, very, very similar in how they function. And definitely go through, you can see, definitely play with these things. Here's your Boolean. The is alpha returns a Boolean value. Some of these pop-ups will help. And effectively, yeah, get your fingers inside here. There's a lot of different things. I know I mentioned earlier to somebody that about the string formatting and everything. That's where we're talking about what we call interpolated strings. And if you notice the key right here, you see this F, and then you see everything's in between the two quotes. But then between the braces here, the first name and last name, that's where it's getting these other variables. And that would be where you could start working with building strings from different pieces of variables, input, or what have you. We covered a little, I talked a little bit about escape sequences. Any questions on interpolated strings before I jump? We've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm trying to see if we can catch a good enough overview for everybody to be able to dive back in, play with the things, and we also need to make sure we cover how to shut off your instance. Any questions on interpolated strings?
Interpolated. What is the name of that?
Interpolated strings. Yeah, it's a goofy one. Yeah.
So what defines is that that character before the exclamation point.
No, it's the F.
Oh, the F is what. Okay.
If I got rid of that F,
That's that
now
first. That's the
I get rid of that F, and all of a sudden it's mad. It's angry.
error coded, huh?
Yep. So because I could get rid of these,
What if you switch?
and it's fine.
What if you switch? Can you go back? What if you switch? What is those called? Is it been a while for as far as school? But what's the name of that character before the exclamation
You
point?
could call that a curly bracket, curly brace, whatever.
Curly.
Yeah, that's the curly.
What
Yeah.
if I switch that to a parentheses and with the F? What does that do?
If you put a parentheses in there,
yeah, maybe I should play with it, huh? Yeah, I should play with it.
that's okay. So
let me go.
Interpolated strings means that we can pull other things. So this is kind of like a little mini code block inside here. And if I went through and I could start adding in some of the other things that we've done. What if we reverse the string?
Okay.
What's inside that is basically it's like a code block. I'm inserting code here, and because this particular thing is just the last name, but that's not the only thing we can do there. I could go
Okay. Jimmy 10.
So it's going to execute that, and then it turns it into a string to be able to format it.
Yeah, I think he was
Does that
saying
help a little bit?
if you switch the curly braces out with parentheses, which
If
I
you
don't
did
think
that,
it'll
it
read
would
it.
break it. Well, no, if you did that, what? Okay, I gotcha. If you
That
change this,
means it wouldn't be an
it
interpolated string. It
it
wouldn't
would
it wouldn't be that.
notice how it's already giving me errors. Now when I do this,
Oh, okay. I see. I see. So you got to use those curly.
that tells you there's code inside there.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, got you.
And that's actually a very common concept across most languages that have interpolated strings. There is some that you call that kind of like a delimiter. You ever deal with like a CSV, a comma separated value sheet, kind of like dumbed down Excel? You ever seen one of those or no?
Nah, not
What happens is what they do is they put it like um and then they separate it with a comma and then
Oh, yes, yes, yeah. I have seen that. Yeah, because I
that's a okay, so think about that. That comma is called a delimiter. And that's the kind of a similar idea. This curly bracket, bracket is a delimiter that there's code inside here. It's a code block.
and the code is defined by the first name equals last name
The
equals.
first name in this particular instance is a variable, but if we put a math function in there, then it would do the math, right?
Yeah, gotcha, gotcha. Yep. Man.
Now, we covered a bit about escape sequences with escaping some things. There's a few others like the slash n is new line, slash t tab. We did see the quotes. There's several different things because um when we run this code right here, this slash n new line is what inserts this line right here. So if we wanted some text to be broken across multiple lines or embedded tabs like they've got in here, you have different ways to do that. That's another thing to play with. There's a lot more escape sequences out there. Most times you're not going to memorize them, but you'll definitely be able to tell, like, especially with the way that this interpreter or this code editor is, you can see that this is showing me that these are escaped sequences, so they're going to do something. It's not just getting me a T or complain that I closed the quotes too early or that sort of thing. There's a little bit more on the none type. Um, empty data structures such as lists. Okay, so there's a use case for your none type is if we used our previous example where we were splitting the sentence based off of a delimiter and it created a list, we could check if that was a none type or the length was 0 to see if there was anything that it found in there. That way we can validate something before we try to process something else later, do more logic on it. So we've got a couple of exercises here for you guys to go ahead and review, play with them, and I mean, get as much practice as you can. That's one of the keys about this entire curriculum is to put your hands on things and if you've got questions, by all means, make sure that you pipe them right or send them right into the intro to coding chat. If somebody, I mean, I encourage if one person understands and they can try to help someone else, one of the best ways to reinforce your knowledge is being able to explain it to somebody else. We also have some more exercises under the lesson one exercises. You go right ahead and go through, play with those, and just yeah, just as much hands-on as you can. We'll definitely see everybody on Wednesday. Do we need to go over how to shut off the code space?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay.
Real quick question, DJ. So we're in this code space when we're in this right now, where we have all these examples and we're practicing. We are using our
120
allotted?
hours. Yes.
Okay, okay.
So that's why basically, yeah, you want to make sure. Okay. Does everybody remember from here how we got back to code spaces?
No, can you go back to the where
So
you were before?
what we need, the other one. Okay, so this is where we were in our editor. Okay, so we're done right now, right? So we'll shut that off. But our code space is not done. It's still active right here.
I do delete.
No, we don't want to delete. You want to keep what you've been working on because yeah, you want to keep what you're working on because you don't want to have to set that up every single time. It's just as much fun as we had. Um, so you want to go back up to the hamburger menu. Hit the. Does everybody remember where this page is?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. So we're on the intro to live page. Hit the hamburger menu, and then the code spaces. Everybody good to go there? I'm going to hold this here for a couple more minutes just so that it's good for the video. Now, once we're inside our code spaces, you're going to see that your code space, you're going to look for your active code space. You should hopefully just have one. And you're looking for this ellipsis. If you hit that ellipsis, you should get this pop-up menu here. Everybody have that?
Yes, sir.
I don't believe you'll lose the notes in the code space. I believe it saves it when you're in there. Okay, and then you're going to want to stop the code space.
Says last used 3 hours ago. I guess that's when I logged in, huh?
Yeah, that's probably when, yeah, that's when you started it.
Okay, then.
All right, I'm going to end the recording now. I know we're a few minutes over.